It's been around 4 years now since I checked out any Android device on this channel, but I always do keep an eye on things, and when OnePlus reached out and said, hey, do you want to check out the OnePlus Pad 2? We think it's pretty good. I thought, what better time to dive back in? I've been using it for around a week or so let's get into what I liked and didn't like about it. Let's talk about the design first, and I got to appreciate OnePlus off the bat because there's only a few ways you can design a slab of glass, and theirs looks pretty different to everything else out there. It's got their large camera bump on the back and their logo, whether you like those or not. It's a fully aluminium build, and they've rounded the corners quite nicely as well, so to hold and use this tablet really is quite comfortable. It comes in the one colorway, which is this Nimbus grey, which looks nice enough. It's a good businessy color, but I do wish there was kind of a lighter look for others out there because that's what I prefer. But overall, this tablet is quite nicely designed. I've got no issues with how it looks or how it feels. When it comes to the display, things are really nice here as well. It's 12.1 inches, it's 3K, which is kind of wild. It has 303 ppi, and it's got a wonderful adaptive frame rate of up to 144 Hz. Specs aside though, that basically translates to having a really decent screen. It's vivid and great for consuming content, and most importantly, it's really bright too. It gets up to 900 nits, so viewing it indoors or outdoors or pretty much any location is absolutely fine. Also, thanks to that really high ppi, doing things like reading on this tablet are really nice too because the text remains clean and sharp however you look at it. I also have to shout out the speakers on this. OnePlus have managed to squeeze in 4, and they've actually really nailed the experience. Not only are they loud and clear, but they're balanced too, and genuinely this is the thing I was most surprised by. They really have done a good job of these. I would go as far as to say that this has been a joy to consume content on, and it's actually made me want to watch more stuff because everything sounds really decent and everything looks really decent too. When it comes to specs as well, this OnePlus Pad 2 is pretty loaded. You're getting the latest Snapdragon Gen 3 processor with 12GB of RAM, which is pretty wild, and 256GB of storage, which I think is pretty much plenty for any tablet use. And of course, it does mean that general day-to-day use is snappy and rapid, as you'd expect from a chipset that's so high and having plenty of RAM. Everything you're doing day-to-day runs absolutely fine, and you can switch between apps nice and quickly and open and close and do everything you kind of expect from a tablet with no issues at all. I also really like the way that OnePlus has implemented the kind of split view multitasking on here. You just swipe down from the top with 2 fingers and then you can pick an app to put next to the other app and just use them as you would. You can actually go a little bit further with this with something that OnePlus is calling Open Canvas, which lets you open up to 3 apps at the same time, and then you can jump between them and resize them however you like. I actually really like this, and the fact that you can copy and paste between those apps as well is really useful. You can even group them into a little set of apps and then tap them to open them back up where they were again, which is a nice little addition too. And when it comes to heavier tasks like video editing, this has held up absolutely fine as well. I've been able to edit 4K in apps like CapCut with no real issue at all. And that translates to gaming as well. I loaded up Zenless Zone Zero, which is probably one of the better looking games you can get right now. I managed to increase the graphics and jump it up to 60 frames a second as well, and this held up fine, no glitches or any kind of weird stutters or anything like that. And because it is running that Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, it's going to run the latest games and those kind of heavier tasks for a long time too. So yeah, overall, power is good. Let's move over to the accessories now, and for me, one of the most important things you can get with a tablet is a stylus. This is the OnePlus Stylo 2, and honestly, this is a decent stylus. It's actually got haptic motors built inside, so when you're drawing on the pad, you can feel it, which is kind of like a weirdly interesting feature, which I quite like. And it works pretty much how you'd expect it to. There's pressure sensitivity here as well, so if you want to draw a little bit harder or anything like that, you can. But one of my favorite features about it is not only does it snap to the top and charge wirelessly, which is nice, it's actually held on there quite strongly by magnets, and the times I put this in my bag and things like that, it hasn't fallen off like it has on other devices. So overall, the Stylo 2 is actually a nice addition, and I think OnePlus have done a good job on this one. OnePlus have also made a keyboard case as well for this, and it's actually kind of interesting because it's in 2 parts. You attach this back plate first, which acts as the kickstand, and then you attach the bottom part to the actual tablet itself, which makes the full keyboard. And then you can just fold it up and take it with you as a standard tablet case. The overall keyboard experience is actually quite nice. You get a full function row, which is nice to see on a tablet keyboard, and there's plenty of travel on the keys too, making typing on it just an overall pretty good experience. The trackpad deserves a shout out on this keyboard too, because not only is it quite big, but it actually interacts with Android quite well, and I think OnePlus have implemented it nicely. But the keyboard's also got a bit of a party trick as well, which is interesting because you can actually detach the keyboard and it will remain connected by Bluetooth. So if you want to put the tablet up somewhere so you can see it a bit better and then just type like normal, you can do that too, which is actually quite a nice little addition. Okay, so after about a week of use, let's talk about the things which I really did like. And first off, most obviously, is the screen and speakers combo. They really do make watching or consuming anything on this tablet really nice, and it's also a pleasure to play games on. I also really like that OnePlus have implemented their own multitasking. The open canvas thing is a genuinely cool feature, and I used it quite a lot whenever I had any productivity things to do. They didn't have to do this and could have just ran with whatever Android has for multitasking, but I'm really glad they did because it's a nice implementation and I found it useful. They also did a good job with the Stylo too. I really like this. It's nice to use. The haptics inside are kind of fun, even though they don't do a huge amount. And the fact that it sticks to the side magnetically and doesn't come off, it's stronger magnets, is really appreciated. And finally, it's powerful and fast for kind of all daily usage. And I imagine going forward, it's going to remain that way for a while. When it comes to things I don't like though, it's kind of more on Android because a lot of the Android apps for tablets just aren't massively well optimized for it. Some are still scaled up phone apps, which is a real shame, and some are just not using the space very well at all. And even though this thing has fantastic specs which can last into the future, I'm not overly sure how long OnePlus will support Android software updates, so that's something to consider as well. And lastly, on the things I don't like, there's no charger in the box here in the UK or the EU, which means Super VOOC charging, which was kind of a big feature for this tablet, which means it can charge up really quickly, isn't accessible to me out of the box, which is a bit of a shame. Okay, to wrap up on the OnePlus Pad 2, it's a really great tablet for content consumption, but it's pretty average when it comes to content creation. And I don't blame OnePlus for this. I really appreciate what they've done with open canvas multitasking. That's a really good move, and the accessories are decent as well, but it's the Android kind of ecosystem as a whole that lets it down. For me though, when it comes to tablet use, I am more of a content creator rather than a consumer. So when I pick up my tablet, it's usually to make something with it. And the fact that this doesn't have GoodNotes or Procreate or the tablet version of Lightroom makes it a hard sell for me, and I don't think I could switch from my iPad for those reasons. However, if you do just want a really powerful tablet for consuming content and for playing the latest games well into the future and for doing little bits of productivity here and there, I don't think you can go too far wrong with the OnePlus Tablet 2. There's not many Android tablets out there that give you kind of this level of performance and build quality and all those sorts of things at this price point. And to be honest, OnePlus has so many sales on the tablet and the accessories too, it's kind of unlikely you'll end up paying full whack for all of them. So there you have it. That kind of wraps up my feelings on this OnePlus Tab 2. It's nice to see Android get a little bit better with tablets. Like I say, I haven't looked at them in such a long time. It was nice to take a peek and see how they've been doing. If you enjoyed the video, pop a like. If you're using anything like this, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one.